Yeah, I can hear you on Zoom.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can.
That. Cool. So for technical, more like 5 though. So I got licensed in 2013, sold 29 homes in about a year and a half. And then our family had some other stuff going on, started having kids, moved to California for a while, moved to Indiana for a while for my husband's job. And now we're back here for the past 3 years, and it's been awesome. So actively selling for about 5 years. I'm on the Peter Morkel group. Of actively selling. So no mega agent by any means, but very actively selling. So about your leads. Let's see, here's the there it is. Forget you, please just like chime in whenever. This working? Cool. Oh, that's way better than the old one. You guys all want to like gather around over here? Would that be okay? Over here, so then I don't have to like run around with the mic. And we'll bring.
I'll move right there. We have good.
Yes, that's good. And let's just, yeah, so we can keep. And cool. So do you guys all want to just share your names really quickly? Did I turn this off already? Does this have an auto turn off, Molly? This mic, the new mic? It has an auto turn off. That's so cool.
Hi, I'm Matt.
Matt?
Yeah.
Cool. And how long? Just let me know your name, if you're on a team or a solo agent or in, what are they calling it? Not Transcend. The productivity.
Working with productivity agency.
All of the above.
Okay, so just kind of let me know where you're at and how long you've had the license, things like that.
Yeah, so my name is Matt. I've just moved to Keller Williams after being with several other brokers over the last couple of years.
Cool.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
I'm a solo agent.
Solo agent. There you go. Cool. Give me some context so you really need to know.
I'm Cash. I am on the Transcend Performance Productivity team, all of that.
It has many names.
Yeah.
My name's Tyson, and I'm just on the productivity team too, or Transcend. I don't know what it's
How
called.
long have you been licensed?
Like a week and a half, 2 weeks. Wait, 2 weeks today, actually.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Welcome.
I'm Cade. I'm also part of the Transcend Performance Productivity team. So, yeah.
I'm Julie. I've been licensed less than 2 months, and I am a new agent, but I'm actually with Bart Anthony.
Sweet.
Yes.
That's awesome. Bart brought you in.
Yes.
He's so great.
My name's Tyler. I'm on the Transcend Productivity team also.
I'll put that down, guys.
Oh,
And how long have you been licensed?
I've been licensed for like 3 months, around 3 months.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So what do you guys know already? I'm like that mic there, and this mic can hang out here. Oh, Zoom, tell me. Doesn't show me all your names. Do you guys wanna
Hey,
know?
I'm David. I'm a new agent, been licensed for about 2 months. I'm on the new agent team and just happy to get started and learn things.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, David.
Hey, my name's Zach.
Okay, Zach,
Sorry.
then Natalie.
Zach, I've been an agent for about 3 weeks, and I'm on the productivity coaching team as well.
Sweet. Was it Natalie? Did I hear Natalie? On Zoom?
You're like one of those psychic people. Is
Is there a Natalie in the house?
I'm Mariah. I don't know.
Oh,
if there's
Mariah.
Natalie,
You said
but-
Mariah. Not sure where I got that.
You're good. I'm on the productivity team, and I've been with Keller Williams for like 6 months now.
Awesome. Who are we missing?
I'm here too, Catherine.
Catherine?
Yeah,
Hey, Catherine. How long have you been licensed?
I've been licensed for almost 2 weeks, and
Sweet.
activity team too. New agent.
Awesome. I think that's did we get everybody? Okay, this is helpful because so we've got some seasoned agents, a lot of new agents, and the more experience you have, you can probably contribute more to the discussion as to what you've done in the past that has been effective. So I've kind of used these slides-ish. In fact, actually. I would like to know, what do you guys know thus far about lead generation? Just anything, like what comes to mind when I say lead generation? If I said, go do your lead generation right now, what are you gonna go do? Or what do you know you should go do?
A lot of prospecting.
A lot of prospecting.
Your SOI.
To your SOI, phone calls. So yeah, what does that look like? So I'm hearing prospecting, phone calls, SOI. That's a little more vague. Let's go deeper.
For me, I have 5 different lead pillars.
Can you use the
Oh,
mic?
sorry.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah. So for me, I have 5 different lead pillars, and I have a daily schedule where when I get to work, I start with one because it's the right timing and things like that for those particular types of people. And I'll just go through. Sometimes it's a lot of phone calls, but it's text messages, it's emails, it's graphics, it's social media posts, it's videos and podcasts and all those types of things. But it's all blocked off in a day so that I'm hitting each of those 5 things.
That's awesome. I love it. Cool. Any other ideas or thoughts? Zoom? Okay, can you guys hear me? Crazy. Just Zoom, let me know if you ever can't hear me, okay? Is it working? Does it sound like it's working?
I don't
No? Hello, there we go. Hello? Okay. Yeah, people on Zoom, just let me know if the sound cuts out. No, this thing sucks. Okay, I'm just gonna use the mic. So I want you guys on Zoom to miss anything. Cool. Okay, so you guys all have like a basic idea of what lead gen is gonna look like. Which one are we on? Not gonna work. There we go. Okay, so we're going into this segment of the Ignite series called lead gen. So today we're going to talk about generating your leads, and then over the next few days, it'll be going deeper into growing your database, capturing your leads with open houses, with social media, and then capture more leads in other ways. So, and Matt mentioned a lot of those things that you guys will go more in depth on actually. So yeah, you, the lead generator, we talked about that. What do you already know about lead generation? I love this quote from Gary Keller. Who wants to read it? Tyler?
My fear of failure was greater than my fear of lead generating.
Let that soak in. Raise your hand if you think that's true for you. Yeah, for me, big time. I'll kind of hem and haw a little bit for a few days and then realize, oh gosh, I don't have anyone under contract. I better get my butt in gear, even though like most agents, I don't love lead generating. Once I get into it and I'm talking to my friends, people from my sphere, I am enjoying it. But there's something about just like getting started that like, it's just human nature. Most people aren't just super excited to get started, which is why getting in the habit of it is really great. Because then you don't even have to have that hurdle anymore because you're past that. So if you run a business, lead generation and capturing those leads and converting them to appointments so you can work with them and have business is essential, right? We don't have business if we don't have leads, if we don't have people to work with. And these fears and myths are really awesome. I think lead gen is really difficult. Who feels like that sometimes?
I think if you don't know what you're going to say, if you don't have a process and you don't know what you're going to say and you don't have responses to objections and things like that, then it can be very difficult. It's daunting.
Right.
But if you know what you're going to say, then it's just the thing that you do.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that word daunting. I think that's what the fear really is. It's that feeling of like, this is daunting and I don't have a plan and I don't know what to do. I don't have time to lead generate. I don't know what to say. I'm afraid of making mistakes. You kind of wrapped all those up into your comment. So I love the responses to these, because when we're getting into running a business, lead generating, it's really a mindset game, right? We've got to be thinking the right way. And if we think a certain way, the way we see things is going to change. And so lead gen can go from something we're afraid to do or dreading it, or we hate it or whatever, into like, oh, what a great opportunity. And I get to talk to my sphere today. And, just like lots of positive thoughts around that. So the response to lead gen is difficult. I was confusing effort with enjoyment. So lead gen is actually easy, especially like Matt said, if you have a plan. It's just not fun sometimes, and maybe it's just not fun to get started, but it can be once you're like building those relationships and feeling the value of having that human interaction. What's the happiness score guy? What's the guy who wrote the book on happiness and he spoke at family reunion this last year? Sean Aker. He said that like the number one indicator for human happiness is your human connection score. And so probably the thing I love most about lead gen and working as a realtor is that it forces me to stay connected. I'm an introvert and an extrovert, and it takes me energy to get started. But once I'm like interacting, I'm just like so fueled and so filled up by that. And I think a lot of us are just in different ways. So just look at it as an opportunity to stay connected for mental, emotional health. And, just to live a better life, building relationships creates a better life. And in the process, you're creating opportunities for your business. Any comments on that or questions? So I was
No. So I was thinking about like when you said, I don't know what to say. And I think sometimes I know how to get to them. I know how to be in the middle part. I know what to say. I don't know how to enter that. That is my problem. I can't figure out how to lead into the, I can do the rest of the part.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to.
You can
break the ice.
socialize. You don't know how to move into that. Yeah. That was a big thing for me. Anyone else? Like, how do I, broach the business topic? And one thought I will just throw in there right now, just so I don't forget later, is like, it's better to call and address the business first and then get into the social. And I've noticed with people in my sphere, because like, if you call them and you're like, hey, how's it going? How's your mom doing? I heard she had surgery. Or just, how's your pet? I heard it was like, you broke his leg or something. I don't know, whatever it is that you've seen on social media or heard from friends. And then it's like, by the way, do you know anybody? Then that like completely negates all the social stuff. They're like, oh, that's why they're calling. I was wondering why they were calling me out of the blue. We haven't talked in 2 years. You have to like start with the business and keep it brief and just like put that touch there, and then move into how have you been doing? What have you been doing? Or you can even ask them like, just very short, small talk. Ask them what they're into lately. If you haven't talked in a while, then like, oh yeah, I'm a realtor actually, get that business out of the way, and then dive deeper into, so just get the business done as soon as you can, because they need to know that you care about them as a person. They don't want to work with you if they just feel like they're a number or they're a dollar sign. So does that make sense? So that's what I would say. And then that way you're not like sitting there thinking the whole time either like, oh my gosh, now when am I going to transition into da, 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 da. And then you're not even having an authentic conversation because you're just worried about it the whole time. So yeah, Matt, any other questions on that with the lead gen you've been doing? Or questions, comments?
So for me, in the very, very beginning, the thing that was hard was I felt like I was just calling people, whether it was my sphere or FSBOs or whatever, and I'm just asking from them. But eventually I was able to turn it around where I believe I have a really amazing product. It's kind of like calling someone and you have a winning lottery ticket. You don't need to hem haw and you don't need to ease into it. You're like, hey, I got a winning lottery ticket. Would you like to buy it for $10? You know? And so now I feel like I have a really great product. I'm doing them a disservice by not getting to it and offering it to them. So I'm coming from a place of value to them, not of, well, what can you do for me? Can you send me a name? Can you give me a referral? Can you help me out? And it's made a big difference in getting direct.
I love that. Yeah. And that's another really important tactic is to just bring the value, like have a value add ready. So it's, you know, maybe it's just a piece of market information. Like, hey, a lot of people have been asking me, like, should I be refinancing now? No, the rates are going up and this is what we've seen. And this is what we've been hearing will probably happen. We don't have a crystal ball, but this is what it's going to look like. Maybe hold off or, you know, instead of refinancing, how much equity do you have? Like, have you thought of pulling your equity out to like buy an investment property? Because look at how much equity every property out there is building. The average home in Utah last year, you know, had 55 or whatever it is, K in equity just within 1 year. And I hate to see my friends missing out on that. So it's like what Matt said, it's like, I am doing you a disservice. I'm not a good friend if I'm not telling you, or at least putting that thought in your mind, giving you the option. Because like so many people don't think about that. They're so busy in their busy lives day to day. They don't stop to breathe, you know, like let alone think, I've got all this equity. What should I do with it? Maybe I should invest, you know, things like that. And like, well, I don't want to deal with renters. Oh, we've got this awesome property management, Samantha Wallace within our office. She only takes 9%. Most people are breaking even the first year because rents are going up so high. And then you're cash flowing the next month, you know, things like that, where you just like, you feel it out, you bring some value. They will just tell you what's going on and what questions they have. And then you can like go with it. Does that make sense? So value add, getting to business first, and then always end with like, by the way, how are your kids doing? I saw so-and-so won a soccer trophy or whatever on Facebook, and, you know, just something so that they remember like we're still friends. And that's, you know, that's the main focus of this relationship is I care about you. We have a connection. By the way, if I can help you with your business needs, your real estate needs, I'm your person, you know? So I'm afraid of making mistakes. So their answer to that is I found that lead gen is nothing more of a set of tasks and skills that are well documented, which is so true. So you get some good scripts, you get a good system. If you don't have one, just sit and write it out. Like every day I'm going to make 2 phone calls. I'm going to write 2 notes, you know, just whatever it feels like, whatever feels good for you. Don't do something, don't commit yourself to something you know you're not going to do, because then that's going to mess with your mindset. So find something you enjoy the most and start going with it. And then over time, add, you know, so Matt, how many streams did you say? 5 for you. And the average agent has like 3 to 7, depending on how time consuming they are, I think. So if you have 5 different lead sources, for me, open houses are my thing. Like I love open houses. That may change as the market shifts because we're not seeing as good of a turnout, and I'm going to adjust with the market. I'm not going to waste my time doing something that's not going to bring me business. But last year I closed 6 deals off of open houses, which is awesome for me. That was like a third of my business last year. So find something you like, find something that works for you, and run with it, and then slowly add. And that way you're not going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to beat yourself up for not doing lead gen, because the agents who do that leave the industry because they feel like they're not good at it. They're never going to, you know, they can't hack it or whatever. Just find something you like. Does that make sense? Any questions or comments or ideas around that? Okay, cool. Okay, look at my notes, sorry. So how many of you already have like a list of people somewhere, like in a spreadsheet. Matt does. Tell me your name. Tyson. Tyson does. Tyler does everybody? Everyone has one. Okay, cool. Are you guys using Command or what are you guys using? You're all using Command? You are now? Okay. My team uses Chime. I use Command-ish. But yeah, so as long as you have something, just have something, have your people in a place. Aside from Chime, because I kind of like don't love Chime. I just don't, but I see why most people do. And I'm actually getting more into it. But in the past, for the past 3 years, what I've mostly used is a Google spreadsheet because I can like get into it from my phone quickly and easily. I've got all my deals like written down, and I started doing that because I was like, I want to like estimate my income for the year, for the next few months or whatever. I would write the names down, the amount of commission I anticipated. And then once it closed, I would go in and adjust it to the exact dollar. I would write down whether I gave them a closing gift, whatever, just to keep track of for tax purposes. But then it evolved into this thing where I'm like, those people are always top of mind. These are the people who are like my top 50 people that I want to continue my relationships with because I've just done a deal with them in the last year or two. And I want, you know, they're the most likely to send me referrals and to do repeat business with me, especially right now. And the equity gain people are getting, it's not unusual for people to move within 2 years. Whereas in the past, it's been like a 7 to 10 year thing when people make a move. So, so even if you're doing that, like if you have a quick at a glance view somewhere, I don't know if Command allows you to do that easily, but whatever works with the way the gears in your mind work, go with it. Just do what works and make sure you have an at a glance view. I would also keep all the people I was nurturing just in a list right there. And they were in my system too, but it was so easy for me to like look at the list and be like, oh, I haven't talked to him for like a month and a half. I need to call him, you know, like, oh, I just went out to lunch with her. We're good. Oh, she is like, I need to call her and see how her kid's doing. I heard she was sick or whatever, you know, so just, it helps you to like quickly at a glance, do that. And then other than that, like follow your systems and keep in touch with all of them regularly. But just getting started, you know, it's nice to have an at a glance thing, I think. Any thoughts on that? Anybody? Zoom, how you guys doing? They're asleep. Okay. So how many contacts do you guys have in your database? Do you think, Matt, do you know? 2,500. That's awesome. That's a really good database. 100? Are you guys all at kind of 100-ish? That's pretty standard for a new agent to have like 100. Pretty quickly within a year, you'll probably get it to 200 because you'll realize how many people you don't have that you could put in because you literally don't even have them in your phone. But let me see if we skip to, I guess we'll talk about that later. I guess the point of this right here is to kind of give you a vision of what your income could look like based on the number of contacts you have. So let's say you have 250 people in your phone. And they've done all the math and calculated like the stats from like how many people to how many deals you're going to get, how many appointments, how many referrals, all that good stuff. And so they've cut it down to, or narrowed it down to like 20 potential closing opportunities from your contacts and 25 potential referrals from those 250 people. So if you have your systems and you're making sure you're doing your 36 touch or 33 touch or wherever they call it GPS now. Have you guys talked about the GPS? Like just your plan for like staying in touch. So whatever your prospecting plan is, your lead gen plan is, if you're sticking with it and you're doing it at a high level, you should be able to get 45 deals a year out of that amount of people. Which would, and the average commission right now is a lot more than $5 grand. So even if you guys were like halfway failing, like how much money could you make? A lot of money. Like the average, what do you think the average commission is like 10 grand right now? So even if you did it halfway, you could still make 200 grand. Okay. So you have to work really hard on practicing your scripts, knowing how to overcome objections, knowing how to just like, just work at building those relationships. And if you do that, honestly, you're just going to make a good living, really. And it's easier than people think too. Like if you get past the little piece of fear and get into the consistency, and don't let those months when you don't have a closing, which is me right now, throw you off. Because like I'll have like 2 or 3 months in a row. This is a really bad example, so don't follow this, with no closings. And then I'll have a month with 7 closings. Like, and there's a little bit of like, you can't control when your clients need to move. And so there is a little bit of a roller coaster, but the point is there's a light at the end of the tunnel every single time.
Question for you is, would more prospecting 3 months ago have solved the issue of no closings in a month?
Yes. For example, last August, I moved. I had 6 closings in August, but 3 months later, I had no closings for 2 months in a row. And then I had a bunch more because after August, I panicked and I was like, holy crap, I've got to get some lead gen done and touch base with all my people. And so, you know, come January or whatever, I had a ton of closings, January, February. So like there is that 90-day spread that's real. Like it just really is. It takes 90 days from talking to someone to get something going, to get something closed. So yeah, so if you're consistent, that's something that I'm working on this year is consistency, because it's been too easy for me to just like, oh, la-di-da, whenever, like my husband has some income. I have a special needs daughter, and sometimes like she's having a bad, you know, she has her ups and downs, and if she's having a bad few weeks, it's kind of like, whatever, I'm just going to focus on her. And so I've had the luxury of doing that, but it's been very frustrating for me because the roller coaster drives me crazy. And so, so that's what I'm personally working on, is just being more consistent. And Peter and our team, we're really working on that together to get us all more consistent, because the natural tendency for most agents is to just kind of let life push you along rather than like have a plan. Like I love that Matt has a plan and sticks to his plan. Like that is what I'm working on. So, so don't beat yourself up if you're not perfect at it. If you're just doing something, like give yourself a pat on the back, honestly, like keep your mindset in a positive place, because that will keep you going. Okay. So your sphere is your database. I think you guys all know that. The lead gen model. So I love the lead gen model. I love the way they like sketched it out right here. So you've got your lead capture through prospecting and marketing, right? And they go into your database. Something that can like literally give you a real edge over other realtors is actually putting people in your database. Most people don't. And I'm still working on that too. It's like remembering, like whenever I talk to someone new, like get their number. I fight like, and I actually have been getting better at this year, is like talking to, like I was at church and I was sitting down on a couch waiting to meet with someone. And I was talking to this gal sitting next to me who I've never seen before, never talked to, but I was just in a chatty mood. So I was just like, oh, hey, and like, we just started making small talk. And then I was like, ding, 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 remember you're a realtor, get her number. And I'm like, oh, right. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, we should get together and do blah, blah, blah. Oh, she likes board games. I'm like, I love board games. My husband and I play board games. She doesn't have any kids. And so I'm like, you know, they're available and flexible. I'm like, you guys should come over and play board games with us. So I got her number. So she's in my phone. She's not in my database yet, but I need to put her. Okay. Open houses are another example of like, I get all these people signing up, but I'm not putting them in the database. And so many realtors do that, and it's so bad. And so the new system is like, every time I have an open house, you know, before you leave the house or go straight to the office, like don't go home and get distracted by your family, your dog, whatever, like go somewhere where you can like just sit down, put them in the database. And now they're in there, and whatever smart plans you have in Command, whatever Ritz is helping you guys with on the new agent team, whatever Bart has, whatever you have, whatever, you know, touch plan you have, you can just plug them in. And that way you don't have to like remember like, oh wait, I never got a hold of that girl that I talked to at the open house 2 weeks ago. And I probably could have sold her a home if I had stayed in touch, and I can't even remember her name now, you know? So you just put them in, keep track of them that way. And then follow up, obviously. So leads, when they go into your database, they actually become a lead. and you form the relationship with them. And once you form the relationship, then they are a contact. They're no longer a lead, they're a contact, they're a person, right? You have that relationship with them. And then you just work on strengthening that. So at the bottom here, like cultivate contacts for conversion. So interactive and needs-based offerings. So that's when you're calling them up and like, hey, by the way, I saw on Facebook you were asking people about this, and here's this, like bring value to them and have the business conversation, and then have the, what's it called? Who was in Lee Stern's class a couple weeks ago? Do you guys go to Lee Stern's class? Do you remember what was that acronym she used for the conversation? You ask them like how their family is, how their work is. Oh, LP Mama. Before it is before. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You're going through like how's work, how's family, how's life, how are your hobbies, all that good stuff. So that's where you're cultivating those contacts. And people just like, I don't know about you guys, but people will just bring up real estate. They know I'm a realtor, and I will just chat with them, and they'll be like, by the way, are rates really going up like crazy? Like my friend told me that. Is that true? And comments on that?
Well, yeah. I was going to say that when people see you as an expert, not just a realtor, but as a real estate expert, they will come to you. They will bring up the subject of real estate and mortgages and all those types of things. And it gives you the opportunity to do your job. If you don't come across as a capable professional at what you do, they'll avoid the subject.
Right.
So obviously they know you're very professional and good at what you do.
Right. Yeah. And I think the way that I've gone about that is like I'll have those little conversations, but I'm on social media a lot, just like I do a lot about my kids, my family, whatever. And I'm sprinkling in a thing or two every week. Like, oh my gosh, look at this cute room in this house that I'm doing this open house on. Come join me. So they see I'm actively working. And then another touch might be like, this is the number of homes that are on the market right now compared to last year. Can you believe that, guys? This means this. Like that means this is what's happening, and just a little piece of information. And it just takes a little bit for people to be like, oh, they know what they're doing. Like they're serious about this. This is their career. They know what they're doing. They're the expert. So if you're just consistent, I have been very consistent with that in the last 3 years. And over time, more and more and more, I'm getting people who like message me, call me, or if I'm calling them, they broach the topic of real estate before I even get a chance to, honestly. So
they're not perceiving you as an expert because you're doing a TikTok dance.
Right. Although those do help. They do like, yeah. And just on that, use humor. Seriously, people feel like you're so much more approachable if you can throw some humor into there, like, because they don't want to work with a stiff person that they're like intimidated by, and they feel like an idiot because they don't know what's going on in the real estate market, period. And they don't want to come across as an idiot when they're talking to you. So be approachable, be fun, use humor. Like one time I was showing a house and they had that, the leg lamp from A Christmas Story. And I took a picture of that. I'm like, you guys, ha ha ha, all the laughy smiley face emojis. And like, people actually have this lamp at their house, and so that was a real estate touch, but it was humor. And so people know that I'm approachable. I'll laugh with them. I'll be kind to them. I'm someone they can come and talk to. So be that person, portray an approachable personality. Does that make sense? Any questions, thoughts, comments, ideas? Zoom, do you guys have any input, questions?
Oh, right now, everything's sounding great. Thank you.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, so at the very bottom, step 4 is just new and repeat business. So as you're doing this whole process, you're going to get that new and repeat business from your people. And then they're also going to give you referrals. My team really likes to hone in on our top 50 people. So we each have our own list of top 50, give or take. Like I have like 65 on my top people. Some of them are couples, so I have a few extra, right? And if they're couples, it's the one that I have a good relationship with, or if I have a good relationship with both, they're both on my list. So these are the people who you've done deals with in the last 1.5 to 2 years, and people you'll do a deal with in the next 1 to 2 years, depending on how many people are on your list. And the people who have sent you referrals or who have asked you a lot of questions and have mentioned they want to send you their friend or their brother or whatever. So those are the people like who have shown an interest in supporting your business. And those are the people you're going to spend the most time on. So you're going to make more calls to them. You're going to always be sure they're invited to any event that you do. You know, like if you're going to do pop buys, you're popping by to them, and pop buys don't have to be expensive. Like pop by with a home valuation report for them and be like, hey, I was just thinking about you. Most of my clients have been asking me, and you can say this as a new agent, like just establish yourself as an expert right away. Don't act like, well, I'm the new agent and would you mind helping me out? And I want to do business and please let me list your house. Don't do that. Just don't. Just come in as a professional. Like, look, a lot of my clients have been asking, or a lot of my people have been asking, like, how much equity do I really have? So I just thought you might also like a home valuation report. That's like a free pop buy. You have free, how many, like 200 free prints each month from KW. So print the thing. It only costs you gas, right? To drive over to their house. You're face to face. The pop buy is the most like effective, like statistically, I don't know where it is, but Peter would know if you want to ask him. Statistically, the most effective interaction you can have with a person from your SOI is a pop by, because you're one-on-one, you're face-to-face, and you're bringing them something. And like, how do you feel when someone just thinks of you out of the blue and brings you something? It's like, oh my gosh, like if a neighbor brings you cookies, or just if your mom sends you something in the mail, just something, it's like, oh my gosh, that person like took time to do this. Like, wow, she did this report to find my home's value, drove it all the way to me. Like, what a nice person. That's the kind of person they want to work with, right? They know that you are in their corner. So, and then they're also going to send you referrals. Like, oh my gosh, do you know what my realtor did? She just like stopped by my house with the home valuation. Like, she's so good. You've got to call her. So, yeah, so just consistently doing stuff like that, you're going to get the new and the repeat and referral, and you just repeat the process over and over and over. And as you do that, your sphere of influence will grow. Always hang on to your top like 50 to 100 and really nurture those people, because those are the people who are building your business with you. But always add to it. Thoughts or questions on that? Just a little note on prospecting versus marketing. So the market's shifting, and Gary Keller is like, cut back, cut your expenses. Don't spend money. We don't know, like no one has a crystal ball. We don't know what the year's going to look like. He did mention at our leadership training recently, we're still going to sell 5 million homes in the United States this year. So don't despair. Homes will still be sold, but things are going to look different. And so tighten up on your expenses. So that means instead of going out and buying a $6 Kneader's loaf of bread to pop by to all your people with, you're taking the home valuation. You're writing handwritten notes. You're doing things that are less expensive. So just work smarter and harder. I like to say both. Do both, but you're not going to pour money into marketing. Don't do that. You're going to just like, don't do that. You're just going to be, what's the phrase? Shooting yourself in the foot, I guess. Like, you don't want to put a bunch of money into that, because you don't know, especially as a newer agent, exactly what kind of like return you're going to get on that money spent. But you can get an awesome return on your time intensive activities, which is just building relationships with people. Okay. It can be totally free if you're calling them on the phone. It can be very, very cheap to write a note and put a stamp on it and send it. And it can be very cheap to get face to face with people at someone else's open house, or, you know what I mean? Like get face to face with people, do the cheap stuff, and then supplement with the marketing. Does that make sense? So that's where you're creating brand recognition in your community, and you're targeting people in your community on social media for your ads and stuff like that. You can do all that, but a lot of people tend to think, oh, I'm just going to market, and the business will come. It's not going to happen. It's even in a great market, it doesn't happen that way. Always create a foundation of strong prospecting and then supplement with the marketing. So for example, like Josh Barrett is our marketing guy, and he's our director of ops. He does our marketing, and he will actually, you can I believe what he does is he targets like our top 50 people or our friends lists or whatever. So when he's making ads, there's like an ad that has my face on it, and everyone else on my team has this too. And it's like, I'm only a click away, or I'm only a phone call away with whatever your real estate, like, I don't even remember what it says, but it's like geared toward it. Only the people on my list on Facebook are going to see those ads. And so that has, once we started doing that, I did notice getting phone calls from people a little more often, and I'm not calling out as much, but it was a process to get to that point. And that's very much a supplemental piece, because I should be calling those people. But so imagine you have this great relationship with someone, and then they're seeing you on Facebook on an ad. It's like, oh my gosh, they're so cool. They're like on my Facebook, and they're really serious. They have these nice professional ads up. That just like deepens the respect and the idea that this is the expert. But you're not gonna, I mean, if someone hardly knows you and you haven't been pouring into them and you haven't been talking to them and they see that ad, like, what are they going to think? Like, oh, he does real estate. Okay, cool. Huh. Gone, thought gone, like in and out. Right. So, so always build a strong foundation of prospecting. How are we doing on time? Oh, okay, cool. I like this. Have you guys heard of this database versus data bank? So a database is a database filled with names, but a data bank is filled with people that you build relationships with. That's where you're going to get your return. And they also refer to it as the smart database. So you're sending out your GPS plan, your touches, your emails, and your reminders to text people and stuff like that. Leads versus contacts. Okay, so these are just different types of communication. And we kind of went through all that. The KW app. Is anyone really savvy with the KW app thus far? They've made some recent changes. So like it used to be called Kelly, now it's KW app. So I still need to get caught up on that. I'm not sure about that, but there's definitely plenty of opportunity to do all these different things. When I look at each one, different scenarios come to mind. Like, for example, face-to-face, I'm thinking pop buys and open houses. So I'd love to hear from you guys. When you look at any one of these, what ideas or examples do you have that pop up? And I'm just going to write them on the board here.
When we moved into a new neighborhood, I hosted a barbecue for, you know, I mean, kind of the, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 streets around where we live. And we did a little flyer thing to put on, just, you know, come meet our family type thing. And, you know, most of it was for our kids to meet other kids and things like that. But it sure didn't hurt that everybody then learned that I was a real estate agent, and, you know, but it was, again, just like what you said, you know, all this other communication is great, but a face-to-face is where it happens. Can't not beat it.
Cool. Any other ideas? It could be things you have done or you thought of doing.
So when I came over here, because I came from the car world, I did a whole bunch of handwritten thank you cards for all of the people that I had really good contacts with over there, and just saying, hey, thanks for working with me. I appreciate it. This is what I'm doing now. And I've gotten some pretty good feedback from that. So.
Okay, cool. So I like that. Thank you cards for past business.
Did you mail them or did you deliver?
I mailed them because I had like a couple.
Phone calls, like, what are different reasons to call?
Birthdays.
Birthdays. Love it. I'm going to say apology call. We like to have apology calls on our team. If you haven't talked to them for a while, and for different people, that'll mean like it. For this person, I haven't talked to them in a while. It's been a year. For this person, it's been a couple months. That's a while for us, you know.
just call and it's just like, hey, I was just thinking about you and I'm so sorry. I've been so crazy busy. We haven't even chatted. I feel so bad. How have you been doing? That's the apology call. It's quick, it's simple, and it's like, how do you feel when you hear that? It's like, oh, you care about me. People are human. They just want to know that you care about them. Like that's what everything comes down to. You care about them. You're there to love on them, to help them with their real estate needs, because their real estate needs affect their lives, their families, their retirements. Like we are here to care about our people, right? So that apology call breaks the ice and just restarts your relationship building and conveys that you care about them.
Thinking of you text, just sending a text saying, okay, just thinking about you.
Who has a good habit of, this is something I've heard recently, and I'm like, I want to do that. That's like next on my list. Who has a good habit of seeing things on social media and texting or calling people about it? Oh, your first grandbaby was born. I'm so excited for you. You know, like call them, text them, whatever. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to call, and it's in the afternoon. It's not my prospecting time. I'm not in that mindset. I'm like, I don't really feel like calling and talking to her. So I can send her a text. You know, so that's, I want to get in the habit of doing that. Yeah, Matt.
I hate making phone calls for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just not my personality. But on Facebook, I can leave a voice message in their messenger. So it's that, for me, it's a step above just the quick congrats type thing. I can, give them a little more heartfelt message, but I don't have to have a conversation with them.
Oh, love that. Oh, good call.
Yeah, who was it? I had a friend who did that. She like 2 years ago, I can't remember who it was, but she sent me voice memos on Messenger. I was like, oh yeah, it was Lisa. It was this gal that is friends with my older sister and she moved here from Texas. And I was like, oh, I saw you're moving. And I wanted to see if I could be her realtor. She already had something like being built in the process and whatever, but she responded with a voice memo. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. It's fun to hear her voice. So I love, Matt, that you do that. Cause yeah, you don't have to start a conversation but they can still hear a voice, which is great. So sorry on Zoom, I forgot to talk into the mic, but basically we've gone through ideas for all these different forms of communication. So flyers to an event, like Matt did a barbecue with his sphere in his neighborhood when he moved. So he got face-to-face with them. We have like thank you cards for past business. So if you've done a different business before, you're sending the note saying, thank you for that business. Guess what? Now I'm doing this. And you can do that. They have those letters that did they still do that? They send out those letters saying like, hey, I'm a realtor now. When you're a new realtor, maybe they don't do that anymore. But I love the thank you card idea because it's like way more personal, right? And then just like birthdays, holidays, thinking of you text, give them a call. If you see something happening on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you can call them up and be like, oh, hey, congrats. I saw your first grandbaby was born or whatever. So those are just some different ideas. Any other ideas that you're just like super excited about?
So something that we did yesterday, I was just thinking about the face-to-face type of communication. Yesterday was Cinco de Mayo and there was Ryan Kiesel. He did their free, taco thing. And so I took a couple of clients over there and it was an awesome face-to-face interaction with them. And it was free for all of us. So leverage your relationships.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. That is a really good idea. And they probably loved it because you're like bringing them people to meet them at like, so when those people close on a house, who do you think they want to work with? Oh, the taco people, they were awesome. I love that. Cool. Trying to think of anything else, but I think this has kind of gotten our creative juices flowing, right? So just think along the lines, like, what do I care about? What am I interested in? How can I enjoy connecting with my people? I'm totally going to do the voice memo thing more often now. And I'm totally going to do, what was your idea again, Julie? The thinking of you texts. Yes. I love those. Cool. And remember, some of these ideas we mentioned will cost you a lot of money, but like They don't have to. Like think of like lead with oh my gosh, you guys, my brain today. Lead with revenue. Is that the phrase they use? Lead with revenue. So don't start paying for things if you're like, I'm broke. I don't have any deals I've closed recently. I don't have anything under contract. Let me spend $500 on this event. Like, not a good idea, right? So just like do whatever's free and build from there. And get with other agents if you want to like go in on, for example, Riley Condor and I did a game night a couple months ago. We opened it to the whole office, but only he and I like came with people. But we just like went in on refreshments, and I have 1 million board games and he has 1 million board games. So we just brought them all, laid them all out, and we had a really fun time. And that cost me like hardly anything, like spend $30 on refreshments for a small get together. And like, you might get a deal out of it. Like, how amazing is that? $30 equals a $10,000 commission or whatever. Okay. And then just keep an eye out, like as you're in your community, as you go through your day, through your week, through your month, through your year, who am I coming across? I'm seeing a doctor every year. I'm seeing my kid's pediatrician, my kid's dentist, my hair cutter, the people at my gym, my neighbor. Love the fence picture right there. My neighbors, just you'll see. And that's where your 100 people right now is going to quickly turn into 200, because you're going to realize, oh, I could put that person in. I could put that person in. And don't be afraid to just let people know, like, man, like I come in and see you every year. I don't know much about you. Like, tell me more about you. All I talk about is me and my aches and pains and whatever, make it fun and funny and silly. And people are touched by that. Like, oh yeah. Cause a lot of things, like think about your trip to the dentist, the doctor, your hair, well, maybe not a haircut. They do get personal, but think about how transactional a lot of those interactions are. And they're just dealing with people in and out and their complaints and needs and whatever. And it can be draining. And imagine how touched they're going to be if like, oh my gosh, my client or my patient, like, wow, they took time to care about me today. They care about me, they're interested in me. So it's always going to be positive things. So don't be afraid to just broach that with people. I don't know what is up with their slide on this one. I tried to fix it, but it won't let me. So let me do this. So you can categorize your sphere of influence. And if you guys want to, you can take a picture of that real quick. But it just gives you categories to just go through and be like, okay, who have I not thought of and put in my database out of my immediate family, out of all my friends? With friends, it's like, oh, I have this group of friends, this group of friends, this group of friends. Go through each one in your mind and who's not in my database, all your relatives, all your neighbors, past coworkers. It just takes you through all those things. So that can just kind of help you brainstorm, like, who am I not thinking of? So that's a good starting point. Any thoughts on any of these, or anyone have any of these categories sparked an idea in your mind? Like, oh shoot, I should put that person in.
So we just had a baby in February, and I should reach out to every person that we worked with, because there was probably thousands. So at least it felt like
at the hospital or
at her OB's office. And so everybody that we worked with there is probably really good, because we just sent them, thousands of dollars. So
awesome. I love that. That's a great idea. So true. Yeah. Take advantage of the people you come across. There are a lot of thankless jobs out there, and like, just imagine what it means to them to get a thank you note. Really, like, I need to be better at that. And that's honestly, like, again, why I love being a realtor. It really wakes you up and makes you think hard about, like, how can I touch people's lives better and more? Because I'm never going to do not never. I can't expect to do a whole lot of business with like really great people if I'm not connecting with people on a very authentic level, really building relationships with them. They really know I care about them, so they trust me, and they're just going to trust me when I say, nope, we need to do this with your listing. I promise you. And this is why, and these are the numbers and the stats and the information. And they're going to understand that, like, okay, they care about me. I trust them. If they think this is the right move, this feels scary, but let's do it. because I trust them. You know, that's huge. And then that's where you're getting the repeat and referral business. But so business wise, it's awesome, but it's also just like, what a great life to live, to just build relationships all day. Right. Yeah, just keep, I have a lot to say right here, I guess. Just keep building your sphere every day. So just kind of what we talked about before. Let's see. Tyson, do you want to read this quote?
Change the way to look at things, and the things you look at change.
So good. Here, read it one more time.
All right. Change the way to look at things, and the things you look at change.
What's that mean, you guys? What comes to your mind? What do you like? Oh, Julie, the nap.
Just the more you invest in something, the more time, the more thought, the more you effort you can put into something, it evolves. Nothing ever is going to stay the same. So the more effort you put into it, the more it's going to evolve and it's going to change.
Then Matt, you have a comment too.
She said it really great. I just think that it's very easy to look at things, and we'll say like lead gen, because of this class, as all the things that are wrong with it, or all the deficiencies that we have, all the things we don't know. But I think if we can get our mindset correct, that this is a process, and you have to fall in love with the process and not the outcome, and work on it day by day by day, and polish your scripts and your rebuttals and all those types of things. But you change it, looking at it from a very positive way, that if this person can do it, I can do it. Maybe not today, but eventually. And then that process will change and your results will change.
Yeah, both great comments. How many of you are thinking of lead gen in a different way right now than you did yesterday or this morning? Yeah, I am. As I was like reviewing this material last night, I was just like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We can just get into the thick of things and kind of forget, like, why am I doing this? What is this really about? Where's the beauty in this? Where's the joy in this? And like, yeah, like get discouraged by what's wrong with my process and why am I, I don't have any deals under contract right now. What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with my lead gen? Oh, lead gen is so hard. Oh, this sucks. It's just not working, blah, 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 which of course you can avoid a lot of that by staying consistent. But instead of looking at lead gen as this like boring drudgery, like this miserable process, we just talked about all these really cool things that you can do to really connect with people. And that's exciting and that's fun. And it's like, wow, I'm really contributing to people's lives and they're contributing to mine. And we're all having better, fuller lives because of it. And by the way, I can actually help them build wealth so that they have a great retirement and they're not like old and have no money and no resources and no passive income and no rentals. And they've got $100,000 medical bill and they have to turn to their kids to figure it out because they have no money or just whatever. They're in this like mess because they don't, because they didn't have you. Whereas like you're in their life, and how different is their retirement going to look like, or how different is their life going to look like, the things they can provide for themselves, for their kids. Can they travel? Can they do all these things? Because you've pointed them in the right direction to build wealth through real estate. Like how amazing is that? So I get excited about lead gen. Like I have chills right now. I'm not even joking. I have chills thinking like, oh yeah, like I've already made that impact on a lot of people, especially my close family members who are interested and okay with working with family. I've got some siblings who are like, we just don't want to work with family. Like, I get it. That's cool, whatever. But I've got a brother who's a professor at BYU, and he, it's not like they make a ton of money as a professor at BYU. And he's got 4 kids, young kids. He's got a baby. And like, he's just like, I got him into a house for $350 in Springville a year and a half ago. And I was like, guys, don't wait. And they would not have been able to afford a house if I hadn't been there and been that expert and like, you guys, I love you. Please don't wait. Like, seriously. And now it's, you have 150 grand of equity, Kev. What do you want to do with that? Like, let's you and I go get a condo. Let's just pull a little equity out, get a condo. We're going to break even, or maybe we'll both be throwing $50 a month into it for a minute. And then as rents go up, we'll cash flow. But like, how different is his life with his fixed income for a while? Because you have to work a while before you get tenure and raises and everything. Like, his life is going to be so different. And I'm so grateful, so grateful to be able to, because he's my baby brother. Like, I'm so grateful I could do that for him. He's like the best person I know. He's amazing. So I love being that person in his life. And like, as I'm talking, I'm just feeling that desire to be like that person for so many more in the future. So this is a great industry to be in, because you can really change people's lives. You really can. So when you think lead gen, just think like, how can I change people's lives today? Or how can I point them in the right direction so that years from now, they're like, I am so glad that Steph Ashby was my realtor and told me to do this, because like, look how much better off we are. So I think that's where this bold is just like a really awesome series of classes for agents who want to like step up their business. And they have different bold laws. And this is one of the best ones, is just change the way to look at things, and things you look at change. So now lead generation is exciting. It's a pleasure. It's fulfilling versus I have to make a bunch of calls today, you know? So any thoughts, comments, questions on that? Zoom? Anybody on Zoom? Did I put my clicker? Okay, cool. So I will say too, like, I think we all know that real estate, like being a realtor, is totally a mind game. It's totally a mindset game. You've got to keep yourself in a positive place. And every time I've been like, my husband's name is Ryan. Ryan, I'm so sick of real estate. I'm quitting. No more. And then I think about it for a day and I'm like, oh, I really like being a realtor. I really love my people, and it sucks right now, but I know it'll get better. And every time I just push past that, something great happens. Like within, sometimes it's a few weeks, sometimes a few days, but just like push through it and get back to the happy and get back to like, look at the people's lives I've already changed. I'm going to keep doing that. And this is awesome. And I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to stick with it. And then things always get better. The discouragement will just happen because we're all human, right? So just keep reminding yourself there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and the tunnel might be a lot shorter than I think. Expanding your SOI. So this is really cool. I told you how we do like our top 50 on my team. So those are the people that we do this with. We're going to go deeper on those people in our database. So we're getting all their personal info. So we're getting their birthday. We're noting when they bought their house or when they sold it. So we're calling them on their anniversary or sending them something, sending them a gift or a note or whatever on their purchase anniversary or their sale anniversary. And just, yeah, adding notes. So when you see things on social media or when you talk to them and they tell you something, you write it down. Like I had one friend, I actually met her through an open house. She lived across the street, wanted to know how much her house was worth. So wandered over. This was like right by the stadium at BYU. Come to find out, she's like 10 years younger than me, but we went to the same high school in Southern California, like so random. And so we just kind of hit it off that way. But I noticed like her dog, like she's just a single gal and she's got her dog, and her dog is her whole world. And the dog had like a tumor or something. This is like a year and a half ago, but I wrote it down and I added it to my notes. And so like 3 months later, when I talked to her again, I looked and I was like, oh yeah, her dog. Like I have the worst memory. I'm not going to remember that on my own always. Cause she's not like a super close friend, but she's in my database, you know, and she's not even really top 50. She's like more like my top 100, maybe. She has an aunt who's a realtor. So I don't know whether or not I'll ever actually do a deal with her. So she's not my top 50, but anyway, just things like that. We're just like writing it down and putting it in Command or Chime or just whatever you guys use. So that when you talk to them next time, you remember what's going on in their lives. And that's just going to really deepen your relationship because they know that you care about them. Just ask. Yeah, I think this is just referring to like, just ask them what's going on in life, write it down, remember, and help people make connections too. So it's like, if they've got a problem, it's not real estate related, but you have another client or like an electrician that you use a lot with your clients or something, someone that that you can connect them with, like, oh, by the way, my neighbor is an awesome electrician. You've got to work with him. He'll really help you and he'll give you a good deal, or just whatever, just connect people. Like my sister called me up, the sister who doesn't really love doing business with family. And I'm like determined over the years, I'm going to break down that wall. And she's going to realize like, I go from sister mode to realtor mode real fast. Like, and they're like, I'm not the kind of realtor, and I think most people are like this, but this is what people fear. I'm not the kind of realtor who's like, oh, that's just my sister. She'll understand if I'm late. She'll understand if I don't get to this. No, I'm like doing 150% effort for my family members, because I love them the most, and because like, who are they going to let know? My entire family. Oh my gosh, she was so great. So, so my aunt, my uncle, my brother, like just a handful of people have all been saying like, oh my gosh, she was so great. And I've been so excited by that, because I'm like, Colette's going to hear that. She's going to start trusting that like, I'll take really good care of her. So anyway, she calls me up and she's like, yeah, I've got this thing we're doing for Ukrainian refugees. We're raising money. And my girlfriend who owns Ardent Fitness, she is running this. And so I'm helping her, and our other friend is helping. And we're putting together this like little, I don't even know what she called it, not like a little festival or something, just a place where they set up a bunch of booths and businesses can come and they pay $50, and the $50 goes directly to the Ukrainian refugees. And if you're selling something, some of those profits can go as well. And she's like, I literally have no one signed up, and we've been advertising this, so people are going to come, but I have no vendors. And I'm like, oh, like I have so many vendors. In fact, I have a whole vendors list that my team has put together, and we put all of our favorite roofers, plumbers, electricians, flooring, like all these people who have things to sell or services to offer, who might be interested in paying $50 to go towards a good cause and get a little exposure. And so it's like, I will send you that list. And in fact, I'm going to call some of my favorites and like I'm going to email them that, like, send me your info, send me your page of info, and I will send it to those people. And she was so excited and so relieved. And I need to do that today because it's like on the 24th, like this was literally last week. She's like, it's on the 24th. I'm like, oh, that's really soon. So anyway, so I'm going to do a booth there. I'm going to get my people, encourage them to do a booth because it's a great cause. Like I'll probably get my preferred lender out there. But anyway, so it's like, that was a problem, and that was not a real estate problem. But I just thought, how can I help her? And if you're just always doing that, if you'll get into the habit of doing that, and people will just know like, man, I can always rely on this Tyler, right? Yep. I can always rely on Tyler. He always has a solution for me, like, even if it's just like, oh, I heard of this, or I saw this commercial, or I saw this ad, try calling them. Like just something people just like, when they're in a panic or have a problem, they want to feel taken care of. And if someone has a little bit of an answer, just a little bit, there's just something that happens there. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this person cares about me. This person helps me when I call them. Does that make sense? Any experiences you guys want to share around stuff like that? Okay. Zoomers. Expand your SOI. So strengthen. So once you've gone deep on your key people, well, and I mean, simultaneously you can do this, but you can look at your casual connections and strengthen those. So, so neighbors, those are casual connection, invite them to a barbecue. You've just like strengthened all those relationships pretty quickly, doing a value add, you're getting face-to-face. Now you're all better friends. Now they can come knocking on your door when they need a cup of sugar. They're not shy because they've never talked to you or met you and feel stupid. But that like, I'm out of eggs and I'm baking cookies for my daughter's class tomorrow. Do you have a couple eggs I can grab? It just opens the door for stuff like that. And it's those little things that will continue to build the relationship, but you've got to open the door first. This is a really fun one. And I love to hear your ideas, thoughts, and what you've done so far to do this. this is something I try to do. So join groups that connect you to people with similar interests and values. So clubs, hobbies. For me, it's like we're at a charter school, so we don't have a PTA. We call it the Parent Guild. I'm going to be the president of the Parent Guild next year. I just kind of fell into that. Last year, I just volunteered to be the treasurer because they needed a treasurer. I haven't done an ounce of treasury anything. Like I've just showed up to help with events and whatever. I just showed up and offered. And they're like, well, this is what we really need done. Great, did it. The person who's going to be the president, she's moving. So the president's like, can you be the president? I'm like, sure. Awesome. This is going to be fun. And I love planning things and I love kids. And I did the half of the elementary education program at BYU. Like that's kind of my thing. Like I love teaching and I love kids and my kids are there. And I'm like, sweet, I get to kind of decide like with all the other parents, but I'm leading the activities that my kids are going to benefit from. This is really cool and exciting. So I just like dove into that. And that was an easy thing because it's like, I'm at the school every day, picking them up and dropping them off. And I'm helping in the classrooms and stuff. So it's just like, pick something and get involved. Yeah, Julie, you're laughing. So there's a good story here.
This isn't a big deal. It's okay, I promise. It's just a comment for you.
Oh, for this. Okay.
I'm proud of you.
Oh,
because I
thank
was
you.
the treasurer for 2 years,
Oh.
and I did not want to step up to be the president next year.
Well, granted, it's a 450 student school. It's not like it's not a huge school, but, and I'm all about delegating too. So, and that's the thing is oh, thank you. That's very nice. The thing is too, like I'm stepping into something where I'm like, I'm not going to do what our current president's doing. She's running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Like she's just like doing everything. I'm like, why aren't you delegating? But she just knows what has to be done. She's been doing it forever and she just gets it done. But I'm like looking at it and I'm like, okay, I'm a very busy person. These are the things I have to get done. So I literally spent like 3 days in a row all day long planning out the entire year, figuring out what committees we should have that are non-existent right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have like 15 people in the parent guild that are, because our parents are great. They'll bring tons of food when we're sponsoring parent lunch or teacher lunches and all that stuff. I'm like, I know they want to be involved. They're already showing up a lot. And I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna have all these people I'm gonna be working closely with all year. Like that is a great way to add some really good people to my database because they're gonna get to know me on a really like deep level because they're going to see me working. They're going to see me serving the kids in the school, right? They're going to be serving alongside me. Like we're just going to build a really great, solid relationship. So, and out of those people, I think Shoni calculated. So Shoni was breaking down some numbers for us in an ALC meeting recently. And, he was talking about some company bought out another company. I think it was cell phones or internet or something. I forget. Like I said, I have the worst memory, but he was like, why did they pay X amount of dollars to buy this company out? Like, why did they pay so much money? And he was like, they look at the life value of a lead or a customer, the life value. So they're not saying like, I'm gonna get this much a month, or I'm gonna get like, if I get them in for a year subscription, I'm gonna get this much. It was like over their life, how much am I gonna get out of them? So he's like, think about one person. If you add one solid person to your database, like over the next 30 years or whatever, how many deals am I gonna do with them? How many referrals are they gonna send me? How many of these referrals, as I build relationships with them, are they gonna send me? And so on, and watch your tree grow, right? And so one solid, like don't underestimate one solid person. And that's why we go 50 deep, like our top 50, because this is what happens when you go in deep with one person. So if you do that 50 times, like imagine how many deals you're gonna get. So like me looking at this opportunity to join the parent guild, or for you, it might be like, I don't know, what are your hobbies? Tell me what your hobbies are. What's something you could join or that you're already a part of where you can maybe focus more on relationships?
So I'm part of a long range shooting group in Sanpete County. So.
And who do you see there? Who do you interact with? Like how many deep relationships could you probably build out of that group?
5 to 10 really authentic, deep relationships.
Awesome.
So,
Love it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, similar to you, I'm a member of the Wasatch Wing and Clay. And so, the thing I like about it is the membership is at a certain financial level. And so most of the people that are there are homeowners and just, extra income and things like that. So it's a really good place to connect and get to know people.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And be smart about that too. Like obviously in certain capacities, like as the parent guild, like that doesn't play into anything. Like, I don't know what people's incomes are, but if you're going to pick a hobby, put a little time, effort, and money into it, pick something where you're going to be amongst people who have the money to buy, who have the money to invest, have money they don't know what to do with. And it's like, well, I know what you could do with it, just like get into those circles. So I kind of fell into this opportunity a little bit ish just by volunteering, but you can also be intentional about other things. I love board games. So I used to do before COVID, like every month to 6 weeks board game night here. So people are showing up here in this room. I've got food out and they're just asking me, is this your office? Oh, are you a realtor? Those are people I kind of know. And then the people I know really well, like my aunt and uncle who have lived in Alpine since 1998 and have a million friends who are realtors they're close friends with. And have told me since I was a new realtor, like, oh, we already have relationships. Like, we don't want you to be friends or whatever. But over the years, they've seen that I am the expert in their life, like really, truly. And they've been coming to my game nights. And I sold their house a year ago for $775 in Alpine and sold them a new home in Saratoga Springs for $800 from my game nights. And I think I did like 4 of them or so before COVID hit. And I was like, dang it. And so I just, I did the one with Riley a month or 2 ago, and I'm going to start them up again. And, that's for me, that makes sense because I love board games, going to do it anyway. I can invite anyone. But when I was inviting people, I was calling the people who have money. And like, that sounds horrible. I was also inviting just whoever that I love to spend time with, but I intentionally made sure I was inviting people who have the means to do business with me. And even if they don't, maybe their kids they need to buy a house or sell, buy their first condo or whatever. And so you just never know what's going to come of it. So do things that make sense, that you like, that you're interested in, be intentional about it when you can. But like opportunities just open up. Like I had no idea until a few weeks ago that like, oh, we need a new parent guild president. Like whose face are all the parents going to see all the time? And look at all these people. Oh, so back to what Shoni was saying. I think he was saying like you can expect to make $1 million off of each really good, solid people if you really pour into them over like 30, 40 years. I'll have to get the numbers from him because it was just so good the way he, like you guys know how Shoni is. He just breaks down everything very, very clearly. That's not always my strength. But just like $1 million from their business, their kids, their brothers, their referrals business, and the business that come from them, So even if you're getting 5 solid relationships at the shooting place, even if I'm getting 5, 10, 15 at my parent guild, whatever, it's going to mean a lot. So that's just the power of building relationships. How are we on time at this point? You guys have the time? 5 to 11. Okay, cool. Do you guys need or want a break, or are you good? Okay, you can grab it. And I'm not offended if you need to run in and out and grab a drink or just whatever. Referrals. Oh, this is something too that I have not always been good at. And this is something that Peter has really been driving home the past year, is getting good at asking for referrals. I am so bashful about this. And I still am, and I have to work through it. I have to get better. And I think it's about building the habit more than just doing it. And I've been doing it a little bit more, but I haven't been doing it every time I talk to people. And I swear Peter Morkel has some sort of magic where like everything he says, and maybe it's his accent. Do you guys know Peter? He's the one that is from South Africa and he has a South African accent. Where's his picture? Raise your hand if you don't know Peter. Just out of curiosity. Donde está? Where did he go? Do you guys see his picture? Oh, there he is. Yep. This is Peter. His office is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 down from Shoni's, but he's just like the friendliest person, and he pours into his sphere and gets sphere business like no agent I've ever seen. Like he just, and everyone loves him. Like you mentioned Peter Morkel to a client, a friend, a neighbor, whatever, like, oh my gosh, I love Peter so much. Like no joke. He's just amazing. That's why I'm working with him, because I'm like, he's just so amazing. Like the nicest guy ever. Anyway, it's just like, you're never offended by anything he says and everything sounds awesome. And so when he's asking someone, hey, by the way, if you hear of someone who needs to buy or sell a house, will you be sure and connect them with me? Or just whatever. I don't know. I need to get him in here and do some scripts with you guys, but he's just very, very good at asking it in a way. And I think what he does too is, like, as a precursor, he's bringing value to people first. And so they feel like, wow, he's doing so much for me, like that. Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. For sure. I'll mention you to my friend or put you on a group text. He always asks people like, will you just put us on a group text if someone mentions that they need something? Because that kind of breaks down the wall. Because how many times do we hear, I don't really know if they'd be mad if I give you their number. I don't want to offend them. It's like, oh, you know what works really great, that most people respond well to, is if you just put us on a group text, and that way you're there, you can see our conversation, you can see that it's not pushy at all, that I'm just there to help and see how they're doing. And then if they want to continue pursuing the conversation, they can call me, or we can continue to text on our own or whatever. I don't know. Peter's he's got some magic, I swear. But like he's got the system. What he's really got is like the system down pat, is like bringing the value, asking for the favor because I've already given you value. I can do that. And like just having the right conversation and the right phrases. Have you guys heard of the book, Exactly What to Say? Shoni actually gave me this book. And you know what's really funny is Peter does have a way with words, but I didn't realize that it was scripted. Who feels like when you're speaking in scripts that people know it and like they know I'm reading from a piece of paper right now? I always feel like that. And when I talk to Peter, I've never felt that way. And then Shoni gave me this book a couple of months ago, Exactly What to Say. He has a PDF. In fact, I have a PDF copy of this. I think I printed it. Exactly What to Say. So if you want a copy, I'm just going to write down. So for Zoom, I'm going to write down my number, but I'll say it right now if you want to jot it down. It's 801-885-1175. Text me. Tell me your name in case I don't have your number on my phone already. Some of you, I know I do. And I'll send you a copy of this, Exactly What to Say. What's funny is I'm reading this book and it's filled. Okay, I can't talk and write at the same time. Sorry. Exactly What to Say. Who is the author? Let me see. I ended up getting it on Audible too. Hold on, let me look it up. So Exactly What to Say is filled with phrases like, would you be offended if, and then it goes in depth on when, like which scenarios you would use that phrase in. Let's see Exactly What to Say. Phil Jones, Phil Jones, and I've got the PDF right here. So you can text me and I'll send you the PDF copy of it. And you can read through it, or you can just buy it if you like the printed version, or get it on Audible if you like to listen. But it's just filled with things like that. And I'm like reading through it and I'm like, Peter Morkel. He uses all those phrases on me. And there is something about these phrases that just take the walls down, like instantly. Like, would you be offended if I asked you to send me, put me on a group text with anyone who says they have a real estate need? Instantly people are like, well, why would I be offended? Of course I wouldn't be offended. Like, there's just something weird about it that it just really works. And people are like, oh, of course. Oh no, I'm not offended. Like, don't worry about asking me that. There's a lot more to like how you say things and how you present things than like what you're actually saying. Does that make sense? Like the way you communicate is way more important than what you're actually communicating. and that'll take people's walls down, and they'll be a lot more receptive to what you're asking or suggesting or whatever. So I highly recommend that, because you can use that not only when you're asking for referrals, but when you're trying to handle objections, when you're making your calls, just whenever, like when you're negotiating your deals, when you're negotiating with your own client on how to make the offer, just, or what price to list the house at, whatever it might be. Super, super helpful. But I struggle with that. And so stuff like this really helps me. So hopefully that'll help you guys as well. Because if you say it the right way and they feel like they're really doing you a favor, and you've already given them this value, then they're like excited to share, instead of feeling like, oh, I don't want to ask my friend. I don't want to give you my friend's number. It just takes them out of that mindset. Questions or comments thus far? Yeah.
It looks like an Audible that he also has another book that's titled Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. So just as a heads up.
Perfect. And I don't know is that the version I have? Let me look really quick. So that. Okay, so the version I have is just the generic one, the magic words for influence and impact. So that's good to know that there's one specifically for real estate agents. Thank you. Same dude. Okay, Phil Jones. Okay, so for lead gen, best practices, obviously track your lead sources. So like Matt was saying, he's got his 5 chosen resources. So write them down somewhere where you're going to look again, maybe create a Google Drive folder for lead gen. And then within that, you're going to have your documents where you're like actually writing down what your chosen lead sources are, like have a written plan, like a written business plan, right? So track your lead sources, then audit them. So you're going to be going through them and like, how effective has this been for me in the last 6 months, the last year, in the last month, last few weeks, whatever it might be. Is this something I should continue to do? Is this worth my time, my effort, my money, my energy, right? If you're hating it during your lead source audit, and just audit it every once in a while, like maybe once a quarter or whatever. And like, how well is this working? Do I enjoy it? Is it an energy suck for me because I hate it? Like, I know it's worked well for other agents and that's why I wanted to try it, but it's not working for me. Let's toss it, replace it with something that's going to work a little bit better and not going to be an energy suck. You don't want anything that's going to be a major energy suck, because you'll have nothing left for yourself or for your clients or for your business, right? Diversify your database. So that kind of goes back to like, what different groups are you into? So your shooting group, your PTA group, your neighbors, look at all your different sources and diversify. Make sure you have all different kinds of groups feeding into your database, and then just be consistent. And like I said, like that's something I'm working on. And the more consistent, when I have like months in a row where I've been really consistent, like none of the lead gen stuff that I used to feel were like kind of heavy and hard. It's just like habit. And so it's not a big deal, because there's always little pieces that you're not going to totally love that you've got to do anyway. So just be consistent, and it won't feel that way. And you'll be able to focus on like the joys of the activities you really like to do. Time block your lead gen. So the best agents are really good at time blocking their lead gen, and they protect that time. So not only put it on your calendar, but guard it with your life. Like, do not let yourself get interrupted during your lead gen. For me, one of my favorite things to do is like put on a show for my kids, or give them permission to go upstairs and play and don't disturb mommy for a minute, and just like sit on my bed and get on Facebook and check out what's going on in my people's lives. And this is like an evening activity, right? Like, this is not my like scheduled whatever, but when I have that time, when I decide I'm going to do that, I like safeguard it, and I create my little bunker, and like I've got my pillows and my blankets, and I'm like getting in this relaxed mood, and I'm ready to socialize online because no one can see my face and that my hair's not done, my makeup's not on, and I just get in the mode of doing it, and I do it, and I talk to people, and I post things, and I comment on other people's posts, and I message people, and so I create this like sacred social media time and space for me where I can really get in the zone and get it done. A lot of people do the 9 to noon time block in the office where you're like, you're making those calls, you're writing those notes. Maybe you're out knocking doors. One thing, like if you like to do open houses, you can knock doors with a flyer, like come to our open house and let us know if you want to find out. Like a lot of people like to look at their neighbor's house to figure out how much their home is worth. So like, I can do that for you. Just pop by, let me know. I can come over after the open house, look at your house really quick and give you a home valuation. Or pick your neighbor, like tell your family and friends, if you have anyone who wants to live in the neighborhood, by the way, my neighbor's selling, come to the open house. Okay, you just make introductions that way. But anyway, so that would be lead gen, right? So you might be out knocking doors during that time. I used to feel like, okay, my lead gen time, I have to sit down and make my calls. And I would feel anxious about even like slowing down to write notes or to spend time on mindset or whatever. But just in the last few months, I've realized how much of this time block, like it's so important to do this. I wish I remember the quote. I read it this week. Someone was like, if you had 8 hours to chop down a tree, is this ringing any bells? Is this from team meeting? Okay, so I loved that. Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 6 hours sharpening the axe, right? It's like mind blown. Like, of course you would. Why would you put in all this like hard labor doing this ineffectively? You may not even get it done in the 8 hours, and you can sit there and spend all this time sharpening the blade. So that's what your mindset. Oh, sorry. I forgot to talk in the mic. Sorry, Zoom people. Just chime in if I forget to talk into the mic so that I remember so you can hear me. So you're sharpening the blade for 6 hours, calling for 2 hours or whatever. And like how much more effective is that time spent, right? So you're going to prepare, you're going to spend some time on your mindset. You're going to, whatever works for you, listening to music that hypes you up, like walk around the building inside or out, depending on weather, whatever it is, talking to 3 people in the office, because talking with people gets you in that social mode. For me, that's a thing. Like I have to talk to people I'm comfortable with. So like I'm over talking to Peter, or I'm calling my mom if I'm doing my lead gen from home, or I'm just talking to people I'm comfortable with to get in the mode of talking. And then I'm ready to talk to people that I'm not as comfortable talking with. Because I don't have to break the social ice for myself that day. I've already done that with people that I'm comfortable with. Practicing scripts. So like on my way to showings, when I was a new agent and I only worked with buyers, I would spend my whole hour, because I worked mostly up in like northern Salt Lake County. And I would just like recite what I would have pretend conversations in my car the whole time. Every time, because I was so nervous I'd say the wrong thing. So I was just like, I was script practicing without even thinking of it that way. I was script practicing the whole time. Like if they say this is how I'm going to respond. And this is what I'm going to tell them. And, and there's a whole lot of listening, but like for those important little snippets of where you're talking, I wanted to make sure I was going to say the right thing. So you can do this sitting in your office, sitting in a cubicle, sitting in like going to the prospecting booths, sit in your car, whatever. Like just practice what you're going to say. So between the mindset and practice, you're going to feel relaxed and ready and open your minds open to doing the work. And then you've actually been vocalizing the things you're going to say. And that might be like asking for a referral, like, how are you doing? At the end of the conversation, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to practice it like 15 times. Would you mind keeping me in mind when your friends mention a real estate need? Do you think you could put us on a group text? Like whatever it is, like script it out, practice it until you can't say it wrong. And then you do your calls, right? You do your calls or you do your notes or just whatever. Questions or thoughts or ideas on that? Or things you've done in the past that have worked well for you? Yeah.
I hate phone calls. Always have. I mean, face-to-face is just so much easier and better. But for what I used to do, we used to have to make a ton of phone calls every single day. So what I do is when I'm driving to work in the morning, I get my first initial, 5 phone calls with people that I have a great relationship with, but are still customers. I can't like talk to people that I'm comfortable with, because then it turns into a 30-minute conversation that I don't need to have.
Oh, yeah.
And so
That's true.
I'll talk to
gotta keep it
customers.
brief.
Yeah.
If it's someone you know, you gotta keep it brief. for
So
sure.
I'll call on
Have
my,
it all planned.
yeah.
Well, hey, I'm headed into a meeting, but I'm so glad we could talk for a couple minutes because I've been thinking of you, right? Okay, sorry.
Yep. So that's what I do on my way to the office. I live in West Jordan. So on my way to the office in the mornings, I just make a couple of calls to, like, for example, today I called the guy that I went and had tacos with yesterday. I was like, hey, what's going on? So, and then that gets you in the mindset of making calls. So
I like it. What do you guys think? If you don't already have something set up, what do you think would be? Oh,
Okay, and people on Zoom, I'd love to hear from you too. What do you think would be, if you don't already have something set up and planned out and made a habit of, what would be something that could get you in the mindset? What kind of activity could you do in your own way to practice any of those things? Any thoughts? Anybody on Zoom? Oh, go ahead. Oh, are you guys talking on Zoom? I heard you earlier. Oh, it says talking. Oh, gosh. Darn it. How long has that been doing that?
Yeah, I think it just shows who's talking.
Oh,
But when it says talking, it would say the person's name, and it didn't have anyone's name next to it.
okay. We just have 3 on here. Oh, that must be Rick's. Oh, huh. Okay. Was someone trying to talk from Zoom? Is there like a raise your hand thing? How to get back to that view? Darn it. Oh, well. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure what's going on with Zoom. Okay. Anyone here? Any good ideas of like more of this kind of thing? Like, this is what I do. Still learning. Any ideas that have come to mind as we're talking? Yeah.
I think you could either listen to like music that like pumps you up, or you could like listen to something motivational, like your favorite motivational speaker.
I like it. Yeah. I like that. Something I like to do sometimes is just find snippets of like little pieces from comedic acts, like stand-up comedy, like listen to like, because how many little blurbs of like last night it was Michael McIntyre talking about picnics. He's like, why does everyone love a picnic? Like, oh, let's have a picnic. But then you get there and you hate it. Everyone hates it. Have you guys heard that guy? He's the one that's like, parents don't understand. He's so funny. You guys have to look him up. But like, he'll have like people just put out like 2-minute snippets from his stand-up. And it's so funny. And it's like, okay, I'm ready to chat now because I'm laughing, I'm happy, I'm fun. And people love talking. Like, you never know if you catch someone in a bad place and talking to you has completely changed their day, you know, because you're like in a great mood. So yeah, I love that you said the motivational speaker, because that just triggered that thought. Like I could do that more, you know, like I could watch some stand-up comedians, because typically what happens is I'll stumble onto stuff like that. And then that puts me in a really good mood. And then I start making more calls. So I haven't been intentional about it. It's just happened by accident a few times. So thank you for saying that. Cause now I'm like, I should do that. I should listen to like 2 snippets of comedy before my calls every day. I would love that. TED Talks are really quick and short. You could easily like grab a TED Talk or just whatever, or your favorite person, look them up, watch a short clip. Yeah.
So I'm rarely on TikTok, but my husband loves TikTok. And so he loves to listen to real estate TikTok because these agents get on there and are telling the funniest stories of like real things that are real, that you're like, are you sure you didn't make that up? Yeah. You know, and so it gets humor. And I think I'm thinking I actually should go and follow some and go and look them up, because it will bring up topics. It will bring up entertainment. It'll bring up stories. It will bring up, you know, they're good icebreakers. Oh my gosh, guess what I just heard? So it's something funny to tell people.
That's awesome. Any other ideas or thoughts? Like, what are you guys gonna, what are you, like, literally, what are you gonna go do? Like tomorrow when you start your lead gen, what are you gonna do before you lead gen? So you're gonna do your thing in your car.
I have an open house tomorrow, so I'm doing class.
Sweet. Or I mean, sorry, mindset wise, what are you gonna do to get pumped up or relaxed or whatever? Your phone calls. Cool. That's cool that like talking to your key people puts you in the mindset. I love that. Like I have to do a thing before I talk.
I always just call someone who's call first.
Okay.
And then have like a conversation with them.
Cool. I like it. Nice.
So as far as mindset stuff, actually, have y'all heard of the Miracle Morning?
Wait,
Yeah,
this is
maybe
gonna be
that's
good. I
why
can
I-
tell.
Still on? Okay. Very cool.
After Ignite's over, I'm gonna be like Julie and hate microphones.
That was yesterday. He knows I don't like them.
Oh, why don't you like him? I have to know.
I'd rather talk loud.
Oh,
I
okay,
can't
yeah.
talk loud.
I would too. I just feel bad. I know.
So the question I asked was, have y'all ever heard of the Miracle Morning? And I think where mine's different is because for my mindset, it starts for like the moment that I wake up. And so I would recommend reading the Miracle Morning or practicing it or both. But it's how I start every morning of every day. And it puts you already in that mindset. And so I think that's where mine's different because I'm in a good mindset by the time that I make those calls, but it helps me overcome. It's kind of like the first call fear. You know, after you make your first call, then everything else after that is easy, but it's the first call that really sucks. So
Like it. Okay. I'm just gonna pull up something real Oh, I deleted it. What do you call it? Anyway,
The next thing too, like call list, something that I've always the way I've always seen that is like, oh yeah, I'll just get into the office and I'll decide who I'm going to call and blah, 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 blah. And something I've learned recently from Shoni actually is to like prep that the night before. And it's a very simple thing, but for me, I just didn't make that connection. It was just like, well, this is my lead gen time. So this is what I'm going to decide. And this is what I'm going to dive into. He's like, at the end of the day, every day, spend a half an hour, like put it on your calendar and stick to it. Spend a half an hour reviewing and keeping whatever promise you made to someone during lead gen that day. Like, oh, I'll send you your home valuation, or, oh, I'll send you this resource by the end of the day. So do that. And then prep. So 15 minutes, keeping your promises, 15 minutes prepping, right? Did you work with Shoni at all before when he was the PC coach? No. Okay. You're nodding. I'm like, oh, he probably did this with you too. You've heard it. Okay, cool. So, but I love that because he's like, yeah, you're never going to go into the next day like, who should I call today? You're going to prepare like for at least 15 minutes. Just decide like, I'm going to call reminding my top people tomorrow of this event that I have coming up, or I'm going to call, first I'm going to call my birthday people. Who are those people? Like social media command, wherever you keep track of people's birthdays, write them down. And then like, okay. And then after my birthday calls, I'm going to call these people. Just have your list ready. Even if it's just like chicken scratch, quick typed up list, throw it in your email it to yourself, text it to yourself, whatever works for you. Get it to yourself, leave it on your desk if you've got a desk or whatever, and just go through that list the next day. And that way you don't have to sit and think and spend your like brain energy on that piece. You can just keep it to like putting yourself in the mindset, practicing your scripts, and then dive in. Because like I have spent a lot of time before in one morning deciding who I'm going to call, what I'm going to say, all this stuff. So you decide the night before, and then you spend your energy on the actual productive items. Does that make sense? So I found that really, really helpful. And there's something cool about like deciding what you'll do tomorrow, because you don't have to, while you're deciding what to do, you're not like anticipating that in a few minutes you're actually going to have to do that. It's like, well, that's tomorrow Stephanie's problem. Like, you know, what I mean? What show is that from? Like, that's future Stephanie's problem. Anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, you have the power to just like decide, this is what I need to do tomorrow. I know I need to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I don't have to think about the energy of doing it. I don't know if you guys are like me that way, but I'm like, if I'm like, oh, I have to do that right now, like I get stressed out. I don't want to think about it. So there is power, I think, in deciding ahead of time. And then you just show up and you're like, well, I already decided. There's no, you know, maybes about this. I'm just doing it. So you just dive in. So, how are we on time? 11:20. Okay, cool. I think we're pretty much, the last slide. Okay, and this is kind of what I was talking about before, like build a bunker. So if you don't have a place planned already, figure it out right now. So like if it's at home, if it's the small training room, if it's a prospecting booth, those things, I am claustrophobic. I cannot be in there, but some people really like those. So like, you've got to figure out what you like, what works for you. If it's driving to the office, so you have no distractions, but sitting in your car, I've done that before too. Like, it's just like a quiet place. I know no one's going to interrupt me. I'm going to get some things done. But there are some days where I'm like, nope, I've got to socialize before I can make calls. So I'm coming into the office. So figure out your process, build your bunker, make sure no one's going to interrupt you. If you have a cubicle or an office with a door, or like hang that one thing, ask Shoni for a don't interrupt, I'm doing my one thing door hanger, or make a sign and stick it on your cubicle, just whatever. It's like, you know, don't let people interrupt you. One thing I really like that Josh Barrett, do you guys know Josh Barrett? He's our director of ops and he does our marketing. He's going to be teaching Ignite on Monday, I think. And he's just so awesome. Huh? I missed team meeting this week. I had sick kids this week, so I don't know. But that sounds, what was the panel on? What was the topic? Yes. We don't remember. Oh, yes. Then, yep, that's him. Yep, he would have been. So Josh, one thing that I was like, man, I just feel like people interrupt me all day long. Like, and I am just too excited to talk to them instead of lead gen. Like, that's so much better. As much as that, you know, if I'm in the right mindset, I don't feel that way. But a lot of the times I'm just like, yeah, I'd rather talk to the realtor that's walking by than make my calls. And so he's like, get some headphones, which I think I have here today. Here, I think I did. Okay, good. So I found these on Amazon for like $27, I think. Doesn't want to come out of my bag, but anyway, it's a Razor brand. It's like really cheap. Like, it doesn't even, don't tell anyone I do this, you guys. He's like, put your headphones on and keep them on during your whole lead gen time. And whether or not you're on a call, people think you're on a call or think you might be, or if someone is like, you're like, like, you just pretend like, like, Josh, that's lying. He's like, just do it. It works. He's like, that's what I've done. I'm like, okay, I am pretty sure you've done that to me. Like, I thought back, I'm like, yep, he has been on his headphones and I've like peeked in his window and he's been like, sorry. Zoomers, he goes like this, sorry, like, you know, mouths the word as if he's on a call. I'm like, oh yeah, right. And I keep walking. Like, it's a small thing, but you know what I mean? I'm like, why am I letting myself get interrupted? Why am I letting myself be limited? That's a limiting belief. I can't get my lead gen done because people are interrupting me. So it's like, well, solve the problem. So that's the solution. Don't hate me if I do that to you. But like, honestly, if I'm in a, like, usually I don't have those on, but if I really need to get work done, it's like on go the headphones. Sweep for minds. I don't even know what that is referring to. Store provisions. Okay. So also like eat, go to the bathroom, whatever, grab some snacks, grab some water, like go to the soda fountain and get a soda and get a water and grab whatever snacks they have out, bring snacks to work, whatever. just don't give yourself an out like, well, I have to go get food. And then you're going to talk to 5 people on the way, you know, like to just create your bunker, stay there, guard your time, have what you need right there, and go to the bathroom so that you just don't have like that mental interrupt. It takes about 15 minutes to get your mind back on track when you have an interruption. So, so that's why it's so important. It's like so much easier to be in the middle of calls or writing and be like, I'm hungry. Here's my snack right here. You didn't have to interrupt your brain flow at all. You can keep working and eat while you're working. I don't know what sleep for minds. Does anyone know what sleep for minds means? Have you heard about anything related to that?
What distractions being removed is what it says.
Oh, like sweeping the minefield. Okay, gotcha. Yep, that's the thing. And then enlist support. That really comes down to like, oh, my computer's dying. I think that just comes down to, sorry, 1 second. I don't want to say this wrong. Yeah, like, so like on, like for me, enlisting support was talking to Josh, like he's my director of ops. And that was like, I have this problem. What do I do? Or like, there was one agent that would come by my office and ask me questions like all the time. And I was talking to my MAPS coach and I was like, I keep getting interrupted. She's like, enlist his help. So next time he comes by, she's like, first you stand up when he comes in, so he doesn't feel the need to come sit down, and you start talking with him and you slowly walk to the door and you know, and you kind of guide him out and you teach him like, by the way, like on another occasion, like, by the way, I'm really trying to get this done. Can you help me by like if you have a question or something, could you text it to me or like text me, hey, what's a good time to meet for 15 minutes? Cause like, man, I would so rather sit and chat with you because it's so fun to chat with you. But Peter's going to kick my butt if I don't like get my calls done today. So I've got, you know, like I can't get interrupted or whatever. So you find a way to like flip it and ask for their help. Does that make sense? I feel like I kind of butchered that explanation, but you guys get the idea, right? Like you enlist their help. So like turn your problem makers into your problem solvers and then ask for help from your support people. And it may be enlisting help may also be like, I'm really bad at making sure I practice my scripts. Can like you be my accountability partner? Can we just like meet on the phone or Zoom or in the office like every Wednesday at 9:30 and we'll each practice on each other for 10 minutes or something. And that way I get my scripts done. So enlist help to like make sure you get, you know, the activities done. And I think that is about it for today, which is amazing. We have 4 minutes left. They have timed this like so perfectly. So what ahas do you have? What questions do you have? And like, feel free to also share like, okay, I got excited about this today. I'm going to do this. Like, I'm not expecting anyone to go out and just do everything we've talked about. But if there's one thing that you can go implement today, what would that be? So anything you'd like to say.
I liked the idea of, where is it? Okay. Well, basically just like, you know, planning for tomorrow rather than just going into it being like, okay, now what do I do? Because I feel like that when you're already in that like work mindset, it's a lot easier to, you know, prepare for getting into that mindset tomorrow rather than, you know, just waking up and then trying to get into it, I guess. So
yeah, that was a very powerful idea for me too. So love that. I think for me in preparing for this class, because I found, I'm sure you guys have all found the same thing. When you teach something, like you get a lot more out of it than like if you go to someone else's class, because you really have to think through it to make sure you're prepared and you're providing value for the people learning. And so for me, this was such a good way to come back to the basics and the fundamentals. And it's like, oh yeah, I've got to build my bunker. Oh yeah, I'm changing lives. Oh, you know, like just lots of, oh yeah, I should do that. And I think as humans, like we're all adults, we've all worked before, we all kind of know what's up and what we should be doing. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like you have to go back to the basics to remember What coach was it that does this is a football at the beginning of every, you guys know, I'm not a football person, but I know people talk about that. Like one of the NFL teams, the coach like brings the players, these professional, amazing players down to the basics every time. So every beginning of the season, this is a football. This is what it looks like. This is how much it weighs. This is, he goes through all the basics, all the basic moves, all the basic strategies, all the basic plays, and makes sure that they master those, because there's nothing that beats mastering the basics, right? So for me, it was just a reminder of like, I've got to get back to my basics. I've got to focus on that because I'm only one person. I only have so much mental energy and mental space. And so, especially in this shifting market, I've got to get back to my basics. And if I master the basics, if I focus on my top 50 people, those things alone are going to keep me safe and protected in the shifting market. And that's just the same for everybody. Did you have a thought too?
I was just gonna say, my favorite quote from today was, "What a great life to live just to build relationships." Just saying.
And that for me too, like that was my big takeaway preparing for this is like, yeah, we're changing lives. So we really are, we get into the thick of things and we forget, but it's like just think of one person. For me, it's my brother. I'm like, I feel like I've made my brother and my cousin 5 years ago bought a house. It was the first house they looked at, and they bought at the right time. They're still in that house. They're obsessed with it. They love their neighborhood. And that was one of those things where like when we got that house in a multiple offer, like I get chills thinking about it today. Like I get chills every time I tell people about that one, because I'm like, that meant so much to them and still does. And I don't think they're ever going to sell that house. They're just fine with me because they're so happy that we got such a good deal on it. And it was like a miracle, like legit a miracle, the timing of everything, the way everything happened. And it's like, we get to experience things like that with people in our sphere all the time. And the really special ones, at least every once in a while. And like, when we're getting discouraged, we can go back and think about that. And like, this is why we're doing this, changing life. So you guys are so cool. I'm so excited for you. Like I think we're left with all the newer agents, right? Yeah. On Zoom. Sorry, I don't remember who's left and how long you've been in, but hang on to that. Like we're in a shifting market. It is harder. You have to work a little harder, stick to the basics, remember why you're doing it, and it's going to be good. The end. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.